stretches started being shorter or longer, and so they ended up stacking and making stripes instead of the pattern like we want. So see, I'm on row 3 here. We'll hold it up so you can see. Let's see, maybe hand it to Shahar.
Maybe let me show.
Okay, yeah, let you see. It's not working.
So tell me why you think
because
it's not
the light
working.
turquoise is on top, and down on the first row it's that dark turquoise. So I'm in the wrong place in the color repeat.
Okay.
So you can't see it.
So
it's not.
Do you
going
mind
to
repeating
stack.
what you just said, please?
Okay. So on the bottom row in the chain, there's dark turquoise stitches. See right there right where your fingers are. Yes. Okay. Up on the top, where I should be shifting by 1, I've got light turquoise, and it is stacking. It's the wrong place in the color repeat.
So what would you do then?
Well, what they say is to go for another 6 inches, so this far, and see if it's pooling.
Okay.
And then if not, rip it out and start with 28 stitches, 28 chains, or 30 chains.
So you're going to have a lot of prep work.
You are going to have a lot of frogging because they didn't have the plan pooling calculator. They didn't know how to figure it out. So again, if that method works for you, if you like to swatch, go ahead. I'm not going to. You can do what you want to do.
Interesting. So before we move on, let's see how many ways we learn to start seeing the pattern we are going for. The very first one, you would put this on the table and round so we can see the pattern of colors in our repeats.
Right.
Then we did the chain, which I thought it was great, and we circle around, right? So that was the second one that we tried. What was the third one?
Well, then the third, that's another method that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute.
Okay.
So the first method is to graph on the.
So then we have
to put on the plan pooling calculator or graph it by hand.
Okay.
Those are 2 ways to do it. The next is to start with a stitch count, which we just did. Okay, again, it's a lot of beginning prep work, but if you don't mind it, and I got to where I could get pretty close
to what it would
to where I needed to be.
And then we have the paper graphing.
Yes, the paper graphing.
So far
and the
we
computer.
have 5 different ways.
And this one, and then this. Yes.
So you see that in one of those you're going to find where your personality fits, right?
That's right.
Yes.
We're not done though. We have a couple more.
Yes, let's go for that.
Okay. The next one is the formula, and this was figured out by the statistician for knitting. And it is an approximation. Again, it's not exactly the same. It's an approximation of what stitches you need. It gives you a good idea of where to start. And some people have gotten it to work for crochet. I'm not even going to try it because I've never gotten it even close. But I'll tell you what the formula is. You can write it down. If you're a knitter, go for it. It's great. If not, you can try it with crochet and see if that works for you. If you're really a math person, this will probably really click with you.
So I'm going to stay really away from that.
Yes, me too. That's why it doesn't work. Okay, so you count your first row in crocheting, how many stitches. And remember, a moss stitch, the single crochet and this chain count as 1 stitch. So your first full row of your color repeat, count it. Or if you're knitting, count all your cast on stitch, or all of your first row of stitches. And I'll explain the knitting in the last class today so that makes sense. But it's your first row, it's not your first cast on stitches. So count those, multiply it by 1.2. Okay, then subtract 2, then divide by 2, and that will tell you how many stitches you want to cast on. Or again, if you're crocheting and using the moss stitch, you want to double that plus add 3 for your turning chain. So let me say it again and give you some numbers so you can figure out. So count your first row of stitches, how many you have, or your first row of knitting, not your cast on row.